basically just scaling in. Yeah, they're right up. He just... Drive them right over here, we unload, we'll weigh them in, weigh them out, and we put them right into the press. So from the vineyard to going into the press, we can do it all within an hour. And so we have it as grapes to a tank as fresh juice within 2 hours. I mean, it's not every facility is that way. I mean, you have to have, I mean, our winery is built in the proximity of our grapes.
So you can.
Yeah, we can do it. 95% of what we process here comes within 5 to 6 mile radius of this facility. Okay. So our time from field to press is really quick. I'm out sampling the grapes all the time. So we're sampling. When the grapes are perfectly ripe, we're able to capture, as winemakers, the big thing is sampling and tasting those grapes. Right. When they hit their peak ripeness and their flavor profile's there. So if we want to go over, you can see we're going to start jumping in some of the grapes.
Okay.
And we'll be able to go down below too.
Okay. They're squished prior to going to the press, so that way the skins are broken. Oh, so
and then that way
they need to bust.
It makes it easier for this style of wine that we're making.
Okay.
Yeah, you bust the skins a bit more. So like our sparkling wine, when we make Chardonnay sparkling, we bring in whole clusters and we won't run through the crusher to stemmer because we want to do a gentle process to get all the highest quality juice with no phenolic bitterness for our
so
sparkling.
What's phenolic?
Like it's a compound, like the phenolics in a wine that come from the skins, which can sometimes lead to bitterness in the finished product.
So is that when we taste it and we're getting that bite, is that the skin? That's what that is?
The combination could be the tannins, it could be your acid, but in sparkling production, it's phenolics that we primarily care for, and that's what will give us our... What we have is those grapes that we fed into the hopper are coming down into this machine, which is a destemmer, which when we have hand-picked grapes or when we're doing red ferments, we'll use a destemmer and we'll take all like the little mog, we call it, material other than grapes, and it'll be pulled out. And then we come through, if you take a look in, you'll be able to see right in here, you can sneak peek. Maybe don't feed it in, just so there's little rollers down in there, that are crushing the grapes. So you can see they're kind of whole berries there. When they come out in the bottom through the crushing wheels, the grapes to must. The must is then pumped into our axial feed membrane press. So, and this cylinder holds about 6 tons of grapes, 12,000 pounds. Out of that 12,000 pounds, you'll notice as it's rotating, we call it dejuicing. So we're letting all the free run, all the high quality juice just run, and we'll collect that all into one tank. And then when we press, we have the pressings, which can give different flavor profiles. And as you see, we're starting to collect juice already. So we're about half full. So just from them 3 boxes we've already filled, in free run, we're just shy of 100 gallons here already. Wow. And
like how fast it goes.
Yeah, so right now we're from vineyard to juice, like I said, within an hour and a half. And so yeah, from grapes to good, clean, tasty juice.
It's crazy that you were going to school to be a doctor. You were just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah. So I have all the... As we've ramped up, we've had exponential growth. When we hit year 3, we were already at our 5-year in our business plan. So we had to quickly redo the business plan, and we're in the midst of redoing another one, and we're in year 8 now. And we're just shy of 15,000 cases of our own production, roughly 30,000 gallons. We also ship out about another 50,000 gallons of bulk juice to other customers throughout the East Coast. So with the 300 acres, the 17 varieties that we grow, I obviously can't make all that wine ourselves here, so we ship a lot of juice out. So we process a lot more than we actually make ourselves, which is great because I can get nicer equipment. We're utilizing everything, and we get some nicer stuff because we're doing some bigger things, and we have a return on that. And in the end, this whole thing started with adding value to an established family business that we had, a legacy farm, 3rd generation. I came back to it to try to help build, but I didn't want to just do the farming. It was a vineyard, asparagus, and fresh cherries.
And you've taken it now to just all vineyard?
No, we still do a large pick-your-own-cherry orchard. Okay. So standing behind me we have Hoop House. This is an experimental 1-acre block with maybe 1,000 trees in here. We have 17 varieties of cherries, from about 4th of July to the beginning of August, it's a pick-your-own-cherry business. And we have a total of 7,000 trees out there, and 7 dark sweets, white sweets, sours, and then these hoop houses, which basically are greenhouses for this experimental block, which just lengthens the growing season for this block. So for about a month, we have people here with their families picking cherries. And the original orchard was across the street from the winery. But that was old giant trees, and it got to be a little bit of risky business climbing up into the tall trees, and attrition. They're not as fruitful. Yeah, so we planted all these dwarf trees. So this is as tall as they get. So these are all dwarf cherry trees back here.
Accessible to everybody.
And the kids come and they love it, and they're very fruitful. And it wraps around my grandparents' house, so my next door neighbors and my grandparents. I grew up about 3 miles from here, but our base farm, the shop, this is the Green Farm, which we acquired in the early 90s. The Jordan family, which is my stepfather and the family. The 90s we acquired this block, which is great history in this location where they had peaches, a big peach orchard, the cherry orchard, grape varieties, and it's really good soil and a good location for growing. Then we also had a machine shop that came with it, with our own patents and farm fabrication for equipment. So my grandfather and my father and my uncle acquired all that, and my father really expanded the operation. We've since replanted on this location. He's transferring liquid. No one saw it. He's transferring liquid through our pump, and we're pumping it. And what we have is, when we built this press pad away from the building, we put underground plumbing. So we have underground refrigeration lines and underground stainless steel lines that go back up into the building.
Oh, wow. So
and then we pump right from this press pad all the way up into our fermentation room. But right now usually we press out to here to these holding tanks and then rack the clarified juice into the fermentation room. This particular variety we're bringing right into the fermentation room, and we're going to let it settle. And it has to do with tank management. It just the amount of size, and it's in an odd size with about 1,200 gallons, and these are 1,000-gallon tanks.
So it changes constantly, depending on the quantity.
Tank turnover, yeah. So it's all logistics and planning. So you can see there's an underground line that we plumbed in, and it goes into the building.
Can those get out of balance quick? Can they get out of balance at all, or no? They're so heavy that they kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty good team. We promote a good, fun work environment. We got a couple Northeast people in the tasting room. Yeah, we have 14 plus 6 is like 20 people.
And now what happens with these now? They get dumped?
Yeah.
Do those get dumped when they're in here?
No, all we're doing is weighing out.
Oh, I see.
and I compare it to the weight of the empty bin.
Yeah,
That way we
so
know
my
exactly
band, yeah.
how much the weight of the grapes.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
No,
And
we
then
try to
from
cater to
here, you go
all
over there and dump it in.
all walks and cover everything. I shaved this morning, then I wore a black shirt. So we keep our scale in that we call our little weigh house, but basically it's just our setup. We weigh inside the building, each bin, in and out. So that's how we track how much we get from the vineyard and how much we're paying for the grapes. So from weighing in, weighing out, we then go and we'll take it into our receiving hopper, where he'll dump in. This is just shy of 2,000 pounds, or right around 2,000 pounds, 1 ton. Where's your seatbelt, Andy?
I know, safety first.
So you're just kind of getting rid of the juice right now before you do the big dump?
So this way it doesn't all pour on top of them and spill over the hopper.
And it can easily, right, sure.
Not as much to worry because these aren't as juicy, but something for like Niagara or something like that, they can be very, very juicy and can overflow, crush it.
So all the juice that's coming out right now that you see coming is generally the highest quality juice. We call it the free run. Has all the best flavor. It's the grapes that are really ripe because they want to give you the juice.
Gotcha.
The riper the grape, the more, to a point, they want to just give you their juice.
Right.
Then they get too ripe, they start to raisin up, and it goes the opposite way.
It does.
And then it requires you to really squeeze them really hard.
I see. So when they're that ripe, when they're at that perfect point, it really helps your ability to.
And so every week we're out sampling the vineyards, tasting the grapes, and due to the proximity of having the vineyards right here near our location, as a winemaker, we can capture, like, we're noticing peak flavoring. So this particular variety, Seyval, ooh, it's really showing the pear, nice citrus components. Let's get it right now. Where in the olden days when they used to hand pick everything, you either were guessing ahead of time, or you might have got to that peak point and then start picking, and you have these windows of opportunity of good ripe character. They might go overripe, or you lose that window of flavor.
Is that kind of the art and science mix there?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we can go out this morning, taste the grapes, and say, oh man, these taste awesome. I can then talk to my dad, he's on the harvester, and within 2 hours of me sampling, he's out there with the machine picking them, and from an hour, hour and a half from that vineyard, we've got them here, and we're capturing them at peak ripeness, peak flavor,
that's what this is
where
about.
I want it.
Right.
And yeah, exactly. As a winemaker, all we're doing is preserving
that
and
flavor.
Natural things they want to break down, fermentation, natural process,
Sure.
spoil it, but we're trying to capture
Stop it.
Yeah,
Right.
Preserve it. We're that moment of time where we can enjoy it.
You want that
and
flavor
digest it.
snapshot of that. So now, did that take you a long time to learn, like, how to do that? That sounds like it's really complex.
So, I mean, I was just looking at it. I've been doing this now since 2004. So what's that? Almost 15 years.
Yep. That's when I started
telling
doing
that
this.
story, and I go, I can't believe I've been doing this for 15 years. One, I don't feel that old.
No, right?
Except for sometimes in the morning, but that experience, I think growing up on the farm, and you're surrounded by, we have the grapes, we have cherries, and then we grow blueberries, we grow peaches, we have strawberries.
Part of it.
We're always tasting in apples, we're tasting things as a kid. And what are you doing? You're always picking what tastes the best.
Right.
And being that I was surrounded, I grew up in that atmosphere of having fresh fruit and veggies and everything right around me, I think you just kind of instinctually start, like, it's second nature to me, know when it's, oh, these are the best flavor, this looks the best, which is natural selection a little bit. I mean, you're getting science. Then you take that and you ramp it up. Now, we can go out and we have scientific, like, numbers that we can go by.
Right.
And we can run in the lab, and that gets us up to the range. So that's like kind of like big biomarkers.
Sure.
And once we get into that fine line, then we're doing a lot more by sense of taste.
So it almost is this weird balance of knowledge and then intuition and
Absolutely.
and skill that's been built to build that intuition.
Yeah.
To know when to pull the trigger on
Right.
something.
And then in a perfect world, you're able to get it all in, but as you run in agriculture, what Mother Nature steps in,
Sure.
Equipment breakdowns. So in a perfect world, it always comes in right, but we always have the other things, and that's kind of also what makes it fun and brings
Right.
in the challenge, and you learn those other things. But,
Yeah, dude. I mean,
well,
really at the end of the day, that makes every day interesting. for you,
absolutely,
right?
and we all, and I think my father said it best. One, if you worry about what Mother Nature's going to do or breakdowns, and you lose sleep at night because of that, you're in the wrong business.
Because you gotta, well, so there's an important aspect of learning how to flow, because this is like a very Zen Buddhist business.
You kind of got to roll.
Agriculture.
I used to eat myself up at night, lost a lot of sleep, and just made for more stress.
Sure.
And now you just you have to roll with it. And you can plan, and the best laid plan is that
yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, what's the quote? There's a quote, yeah, and it's true. And that's what this is. And you have to conform to what you're given.
Yeah.
And make the best of what you're given.
And the beautiful thing is that sometimes those instances arise, and it creates a story for the wine.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes this whole, I don't know, adds to that whole experience, and
It does.
and then when we get to the tasting room, and you're talking to your staff and about the things you've done, and you go, remember when the picker arm fell off of the harvester, or we were picking this and we had to get this in, or the bladder went, and,
Right.
and we never thought this wine would ever do anything, and
it turns out to be
It
awesome.
ends up being an awesome wine, and I'm also a big believer in less is more.
Yes,
I mean,
me too. My whole life is based on
yeah.
minimalism in that sense.
Yeah, and
Keep
being
it
that I have a
simple.
science background, I could easily be really heavy-handed in the science and use this additive and that additive.
Right.
I really think as you nailed in the vineyard, and thankfully my dad, Mike Jordan, is an awesome grower, and he's really in tune with what's going on right here. He went to school for it, and again, grew up
He
with
did.
it. His father was a UC Davis grad out in California, ran the extension agent, and knew all of agriculture, and I think just instinction and again picked up as he grew up.
Yeah.
My father's really in tune with knowing how to grow things really
So,
well.
I mean, given the fact that there's 3 generations here that have been growing, when you think about like how you're hardwired,
yeah,
you're not a you're third in on this hardwiring. So
Yeah.
if you really want to think about it, like there's gotta be, like you talked about like the force,
Yeah.
there's gotta be something inside you that's been hardwired for so many generations that this is in your blood.
it's instinctual
Yeah.
and it's hard. Let's sneak on down to the pad and we'll show this one more time pressing.
I mean, this is not just a business that, you went to school for and you started. This is something that has been in your family's DNA now
Yes.
for so long.
Right.
That
And
you-
when I graduated college, I tried to come back and work on the actual farm. There was no winery here, so I worked on the farm and gave it an honest effort. But it truly didn't resonate with me. It didn't like
wasn't
capture me.
working.
And I gave it an honest effort my full year, saying, okay, I'm gonna get in it. I'm the oldest, let's help take over the business. And as you can see, I mean, it's beautiful down here. Sun shining, I mean, that's how it is every harvest. No, we have no rain, no bad weather here in Lake Erie region. It's beautiful. No.
Are you in tourism north?
We went from processing close to 50 or 60 tons to, we did just a little over 300 tons of fruit here last year.
It's crazy.
With a team of 5 guys, myself.
So
and-
that's hyper efficient, right?
yeah, we run.
I mean, you've got this small crew pumping out.
Right, and we have a small window to get all these. It's not like we're just doing 3 or 4 varieties. When I was in Australia, we worked with 3 varieties. So it was the same thing, really easy. Here we're drinking 17 different varieties.
Wow.
And so they all require different cleanings between, get a different tanks, different styles. How hard you press them. Each variety has a different press cycle that we use with how hard we press it so that we maximize the right extraction and flavor intensity that we want to get out. Because you can overpress things. Some people have this really big belief like, let's get every last drop of liquid out.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's good for that case, but you're gonna suffer on you made it up here by pressing it and you
Right.
got all the juice out of it. but you're going to suffer in the tasting room because the wine's not going to taste as well, and you're not going to make as many sales because your customer's not going to like the way it tastes.
Is that why yours is so? I mean, you have a different flavor. It's just full. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, we're trying our best. I mean, everyone has their own thing, and I'm us that way. I think there's a lot of good wineries in this area. But we have our own process that we've learned along the way, and we don't just blanket approach everything. Everything's case by case. We take notes every year.
You're not smashing the grape, extracting every last ounce out of it.
And I have personally worked with these vineyards for close to 15 years now, because the winery I was at before I opened this, we were using a lot of our own fruit.
You were.
So I was able to build up and learn what I want to do or how I want to do it while I was working for someone else. So when I came back here, I had that working knowledge already. So it was kind of nice.
But that's a big.
See, I have a bachelor's of science degree, so I'm just I do a little bit of everything. I don't have a formal enology degree or pomology or field vineyard degree. But I mean, I call myself a winemaker, and I'm not so much in the vineyard. My dad really does that.
That's his.
I know enough to get in trouble, and I know enough to work with him. But really,
that's a good way to put it.
Thanks to him, he yes, I know a bit just from what he has done, and I've applied some of it, having worked in the vineyard. But that's really his realm.
But you guys make an awesome team.
But we make a great team.
Yeah.
Businesses and temperaments go one way or the other during the high stress of a grape season.
Sure. And where are we in the context?
We're in the beginning.
So
we are really in the beginning. We're about 100 tons in between. We've done the heavy hitters with Niagara, which is one of the bigger varieties that we process here. Seyval, Gruner Veltliner, Austrian variety.
Okay.
But this upcoming week, till the first week of October, is kind of that sweet spot where
it's your Christmas.
8 or 10 of those varieties are ripe at the same time.
And you got to get them all processed.
You got to get them all processed, tanks cleaned, everything. And then with the amount of juice that we send out throughout the East Coast, there's a lot of logistics that come in. So we're trying to send out fresh product, as fresh as possible.
Right.
So we're talking 2-3 day turnover.
Wow.
And ship out. So trucks in, and that's what you see some of these totes, we call them, or 275 gallon pods of these.
So
shipping
you fill
containers,
them and get them out.
Fill them with juice and ship them out. And then the other wineries that they're in population centers, but they don't have agriculture or fruit in their background. So we have fruit and everything here. They have a winery that's in the very populous area, but they don't have the vineyard, so they still need that fruit. So we're able to cater to them and ship them out.
This machine is awesome. So what's going on inside there?
So this is our press. This is a P34, this is a Euro press. Okay. It's a membrane press. So inside there is think of a balloon or a bladder.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're pumping the grapes all in there.
Okay.
And then there's a compressor that puts air in there. And it goes up to a certain pressure, and then it deflates, and then it will rotate the press to kind of break up the grapes a little bit. Then it will slowly, gently press again up to another pressure, and then deflate, rotate to break it up a little bit, and then it'll take about an hour cycle with about 8 to 10 inflation, deflations, and rotations to extract all the juice. And then we stop the press at about an hour.
You check it and make sure you're...
So what we're doing is we have glass down here, and we're still running all the free runs, so we know all this is good, high quality juice.
Okay.
We'll start doing fractions and tasting about midway through the pressing to start seeing if the juice profile is changing. Is it getting harsh? Are we starting to press too hard and getting seed components or other flavors that are not too desirable that will lead to either more work later on or less desirable wine in the end?
Now, is that you as the winemaker? Is that your palate?
Yeah, so
this is very palate driven at this point.
It's very much palate driven, a little bit of experience driven, and so myself and my team, we've all done that. And
everybody knows what we're looking for.
Yeah, so we've got, out of the 5 people we have here right now, 4 of them have been here for at least 3 vintages.
Wow.
And 2 of them for more than 3, and one's been here since the beginning, 8 years now.
Wow, so they get it.
They get it. I have a great team, and we do a lot of trying and tasting. And
so they know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's not ready yet for that process to occur yet with this particular?
Nope, because we're still filling. That'll be in about 45 minutes. We'll be in that zone of pressing. and they'll be out here with their glasses and samples and checking.
Now, for each,
And I trust them. If they think we're starting to get too much off character or pressing too hard,
right?
if they cut the press early, we might not have as high a yield, which works into cost and all those other things.
Sure.
But I put a lot of trust in my team, and to me, the end quality, what goes to the customer, is more important than an extra 5 or 15 gallons that I might get out of that end of that press.
So, you know, I grew up in a restaurant, and we had the same premise for our restaurant. It wasn't about, you know, at some point, this is us. This is our family business.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's got to be awesome every time.
Right.
And if that's what it took, then that's what it takes.
Yep.
You don't sweat it.
Right.
You know?
And you know, you can't cry over spilt juice.
No, you can't. And you're trying to make the highest quality possible.
Right. In the end,
so,
that's it. And
so it's kind of like whatever it takes, we're gonna do it. And
right. If it's lower quality, then I got to put a lower price on it, and you're doing more work for less. I'd rather we put a little more in, make a higher quality product.
Sure.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more, but we're doing less work so we can focus on the quality to make the best tasting wine.
now, what happens with the waste product from this?
Great question. So what we do is after this press is done, we have a, over here you can't see it, but we have like a waste bin
Okay.
that we drive underneath the press with a forklift, and then there's doors on the press. They'll slide open, and then we rotate the press, and all that pumice will drop down into this waste bin. We then put it into a spreader, and then we take that back to the vineyard, and we respread it back into the vineyard.
That's
so
awesome.
It's a pretty, and same thing with the bottoms from from a tank of juice, the sediment, the heavy solids that we don't want to make into wine. Same thing, we take that back to the vineyard and we spread it back in the vineyard. So it's a pretty closed loop. The only thing we're taking from the vineyard is the clean juice to make wine.
But I mean, that's got to be so beneficial to the soil.
It is, to a point.
Or can you overdo
we can get
it?
too much organic matter out there and the acid content, and we can.
It's
so we have
built.
to be conscientious of where we spread it. My dad works with me on that. You spread too much here, can you go over here? Or I plan on planting here, doing something in the next year or two.
Right.
Can you add some organic matter to this field?
Sure.
Or a little deficient over here. So we're able to work with there and then bring it in, and then we can keep that in-house without having to bring in outside nutrients to build up a vineyard or a site that we're going to use.
Dude, this is an awesome life, man.
It's fun. I mean, I love it.
Yeah,
It's,
this is great. I mean, look at what you. This is your
every day I
office.
get to drive up here, and sometimes I sit on the porch just to watch the sunrise, and then the evening I get a glass and I'll watch the sunset going on out.
That's what it's all about.
It is quite. That's the romantic side of it, and which is
have
only
to
about a
have
half an hour a day.
But that little half hour.
The other
makes
15 hours of the day.
No, it's true, dude.
Yes.
No different with me.
But you know, when you love it or you see, in the end, knowing that something that my family grew,
it's so
that we then
satisfying.
turned into that, and then I have a customer in the front tasting room leaving here with their bag full, or wearing our brand label, or tasting the product and smiling. That's it all is a reward, and all that hard work that goes into it, you don't see. But it's really these guys that make it happen. You know?